Advice I'd give companies who feel that they're too small for global payroll or HRIS solutions, I think you're kind of never too small. As you grow as a company, which most companies are, fortunately these days, you're only going to get bigger. And the longer you prolong that problem of how do we manage this process, then actually the more difficult it becomes to deal with it later on. So if it was me setting up as an organisation on my own, I would do it right from the very beginning. I would say, I know I can get services in multiple countries from one vendor. I'm going to go and do that because it saves me a lot of headache. It saves me the ability. I don't need to go and do this locally. I can manage all of this centrally, and I can focus really on developing my business and growing my business, which is what I ultimately want to do. So I think that you'll see different cross sections of the market focusing perhaps on different size of company, but you're never too small to have global payroll. Actually, the kind of pain factor of doing global payroll, whether you've got 20 employees in a country or 100 employees in a country, it's probably about the same, because it's only big numbers of different chunks of scale that actually start to add a lot more complexity, and different industries will have different levels of complexity depending on what they do. For me, you're never too small to consolidate your payroll processes, because the sooner you do that, just the easier it becomes, and the less of a rework process you're going to have to go through in the future. And the more you scale that up now, the more you start to understand about your organisation from the beginning, the more value that's going to add to you as you continue to grow. You're going to be able to make better informed decisions, and you're going to be able to do things that perhaps others in your own marketplace won't be able to do. So for me, I don't think you can be too small. What I would caution some companies, a lot of things come down to what do you want to achieve, how much do you want to spend. So my advice to some companies who I've seen in the past look at real enterprise grade solutions for a company with 300-500 employees. In some of those instances, they're focusing on the right thing. They know they're going to be a 5,000 employee company, 10,000 employee company within a very short space of time. So actually getting that done so you can springboard that growth is very important to do that up front. Companies that don't expect to grow so quickly, again, worth having all of the foundations for your business. You can't start building a house without making sure that the foundations have been laid correctly. So those are the things that I would be looking at myself, because it's something that helps me to be better in the future and not to have to spend a lot of time and money on reworking these processes when I discover I've created a problem that I could have done something about. So for me, those are the important areas for smaller or growing companies, and why you can never be too small to consolidate what your delivery model looks like. So some of the challenges or objections I've heard from companies who are questioning whether they are the right size to be able to really gain benefit from a global payroll would probably include areas where they haven't really lined up their strategy. So they feel they have to do something, or you have a pocket of the organisation saying I've got a pain point, or I see a big opportunity to solve something, but maybe not getting the buy-in from everybody else in the organisation. So that can be challenging, because you're kind of pushing a rock uphill in terms of getting maybe your C-suite to understand or allocate budget to a particular project. Other objections I've seen is people say, I don't think we're big enough, or we're going to change a key system such as an HR system in the future, or we have too much manual process today. And I think for all of those, technology isn't just for technology's sake, and technology doesn't solve everything on its own. But looking at how you make that more technically efficient is quite an important thing to do up front. How do you streamline your processes? How do you make this better? And you can do that as you go along a process, because change management in these types of projects or programs is extremely important, and there can be quite a lot of it. So some companies may say, I don't want to do global payroll now because I'm going to go and do global HR in a year's time. I think payroll as a downstream process of HR, just using this example, actually makes a lot of logical sense to do first. You've got ways of backfilling your HR system more easily. Your payroll system in most companies is the most accurate database any company has, because you soon know about it if it isn't. And I think people who have concerns about I've got very tactical issues to solve can do this through a process by solving those challenges as they go. And also what you'll get is, from a vendor landscape perspective, is a lot more experience and opinions and insight into how other companies have solved these challenges. So what somebody may say to me is, I have this particular thing to focus on and it's causing me a problem. Well, actually, you talk to people who have done these types of initiatives 50 times before, and actually for them that's not a problem. So the sooner you start to look at these things, the sooner then actually you get benefit more quickly later, but also these are all tactical issues that can be solved throughout a process where you're going to have a lot more expertise to help you do it. So for me, it's important to do something as opposed to do nothing, unless doing nothing has no negative impacts to you at all.